Hello, my name is Edwin Garcia, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I'd like to talk about 5 Netflix music documentaries that you should be watching. Okay, so this list is not in any type of order, it's just how they kind of popped up in my head and how I wanted to discuss them. So, no particular order, just you should watch all 5. The first one I want to talk about is Homecoming, a film by Beyonce. Now, on Beyonce's Homecoming, she pretty much goes through the entire process of getting ready for her Coachella concert. She was recently had a child, and she was coming out of her post-pregnancy and really working hard, pushing herself to get ready for this big performance. It really mattered a lot to her. She hired dancers that come from the HBCUs, and it really just documents how much she had to grind, how much she had to work, and the effort she had to give to create the performance. And honestly, I think it's great for any music fan, any musician to watch, because it was really inspiring, and seeing her process and seeing how much work was put into it and the quality that came out of all that work was truly remarkable. So I think it's a documentary worth of anyone's time, really. Next documentary I want to talk about is Tigres del Norte at Folsom Prison. Now, this documentary is about Tigres del Norte, which is a band that makes banda music. If you know what banda music is, it's folk music, largely Mexican music that is created. And if you know anything about banda music, you know Tigres del Norte. They're one of the most iconic groups. Regardless of your opinion, you're going to know that name if you're a Hispanic person, most likely. So the inspiration for this performance and for this documentary was they wanted to do a performance at Folsom Prison, just like Johnny Cash did in the 60s. So that was their inspiration, kind of doing the same kind of thing, especially now that unfortunately, Folsom Prison is in California, which is predominantly a Hispanic community, or a large Hispanic population resides there, and a large Hispanic population also is represented in the prisons. So they wanted to bring their music to Folsom, do the same thing that Johnny Cash did, and also hopefully inspire and communicate with that Latin community that is in Folsom Prison. So I really thought this documentary was really touching. It puts a context to the music. It gave that music an even higher purpose than it already had, and a bigger impact than it normally has, because it was connecting with people who were lost, connecting with people who have done wrong in their lives and were found guilty and are working through the guilt of what they've done, and can they find reconciliation, and where does this music connect with that kind of circumstance and scenarios in their lives. And you find out about a few of the inmates' lives and how they got there, what happened, and how Tigres del Norte kind of connects them. So it was really inspiring. It was a beautiful documentary, and they have subtitles, so if you don't speak Spanish, you can definitely still appreciate it. Obviously, if you speak Spanish, it's going to have a higher level of appreciation, I think, because you can understand all the music and all the words and don't have to rely on English translations. But I would say for the most part, the English translations were quite good. They caught the essence of all the lyrics and all the conversations, so I thought the people who did the translation did an incredible job, and I really think it's a documentary that everyone should give a try. Okay, the third documentary I want to discuss is 20 Feet from Stardom. Now, I've heard about this documentary for many years now, several years now, and I finally got to watching it this year, and wow, it was amazing. It really, the essence of the documentary is talking about the stories of the backup singers, the background singers, the singers that are on stage, the singers that are in the recording studio, really adding the harmony and adding the substance to the lead vocals. And it was great seeing singers like Darling Love and Lisa Fisher just telling their stories and sharing their stories. They weren't the only two. There was about dozen backup singers that were really highlighted in the documentary. So it was really great because you saw all types of different narratives and all types of different point of views from those background singers, what they thought about their careers, how they felt about their lives and their impact, and the records they were on. You saw appearances by members of the Rolling Stones. You saw appearances by Luther Vandross and his backup singers, and you really saw Ray Charles was in this documentary. So it was really great seeing all those headline acts, and Bruce Springsteen was there as well. well, and they talked about what the background singers really add to their records and how important they were to their records. And there was a lot of triumph and tragedy in the documentary, which I think a good documentary has. It has the ups and the downs, and you're feeling for them, and you're frustrated with their situation, and you're inspired by them, and you're cheering for them, and all that's happening in this documentary. It really gives you a new perspective, and I think this is a very important documentary for anyone who loves music, because we mainly think about those headliners, right? We mainly think about the lead singer, the lead guitarist. We usually don't think about that background singer, the other musicians around on the stage, and this documentary really highlighted those singers and really explained and showed how important and how valuable their contributions to the music were, and what happens to their lives as they move forward and as they go on, either leaving music or trying to go solo themselves, and the challenges and triumphs they experience in their career. So I really think it's important for everyone to watch, because this is a context that most people don't have, even musicians included. Okay, number fourth documentary I want to talk about is the Fyre Festival documentary. Now, when this documentary came out, it had a lot of buzz. There's also a Hulu one, even though I'm focusing on what's available on Netflix. There's a Hulu Fyre Festival documentary that is a completely different documentary, so it's interesting seeing the two perspectives. If you have both, I definitely recommend watching both and seeing which documentary you thought did the better job. But personally, I think the Fyre Festival on Netflix was a bit better, and I think they're both great. This one's obviously, for the people who don't know, Fyre Festival was this big festival that was supposed to happen on this island. It was supposed to be like a premier festival, thousands and thousands of dollars. It was supposed to be kind of for the rich, so to speak, because the price of admission was so much, because they were flying you from like Miami to this private island to get this unique experience. And it kind of talks about how the person who was running it was kind of a huckster, was kind of a scam artist, if you will, and was just kind of making it up as he went along, and how that was not a good idea, and how it all blew up, and the tragedy that happened. For the people who know about Fyre Festival, it went viral because the people who did go on the island did not have a concert when they arrived. So I'll leave it kind of a little vague. If somehow you haven't heard about Fyre Festival at this point, I definitely don't want to spoil it. Check it out. It's pretty shocking, and seeing all the breakdowns of what happened, how it all went wrong, and the lessons that maybe we can learn from Fyre Festival are extremely valuable, and I think important to talk about. So highly recommend watching the Fyre Festival documentary on Netflix. And as a bonus, if you have Hulu, definitely watch that one as well after you watch the Netflix one, or whatever. Just watch them kind of back to back, night after night, or all at once if you're in the mood for like 4 hours of documentary time, because I think it's really interesting seeing the two different takes on it, and getting that perspective of what happened at Fyre Festival. Okay. And the fifth and final one I'm going to use is the Chicago documentary on Netflix. The Chicago documentary, they call it a rockumentary because it's a documentary on the rock band Chicago, very famous rock band coming from Chicago. That's why the name Chicago comes from, right? And I really think this one is a great one for rock fans, for music aficionados, because it really documents their whole career from the rise to what happens after that, and it's really powerful. They do a good job of showing you the music and giving you a taste of the music and what the experience was, while still having those interviews and the background, and people coming in with their perspectives and their point of views on what happened. So I really think it's a great documentary that highlights the careers of the members of Chicago and the group as a whole, and really wraps it up in a nice way. So those are my Netflix music documentary recommendations. There's a lot more out there on Netflix. I think Netflix is a great place to get music documentaries, to get a bunch of rich knowledge, and to kind of have a new perspective on music, on the music you love, music you don't know about. There's a Steve Aoki documentary. I'm not a big Steve Aoki fan, but his documentary was interesting and compelling, seeing his whole life. These are just kind of now me just kind of rambling here on different documentaries, but there's so many. There's a lot on hip-hop that are out there. There's a lot on other rock groups. Foo Fighters had one recently that was on there. And I think it's really hard to make a good music documentary, because what makes music special is the live performance and the experience. And you don't want to just play a song in a documentary. That might not be enough to really captivate the audience. So these documentaries that I mentioned are good because, yes, they do focus on the music, but they also focus on what makes that music special, and they show you a taste of that magic while giving you a deeper context that you probably don't have, talking to historians and first-hand accounts and retrospectives of the people who make this music. So I think that's what a really great documentary does, and I think all these documentaries, the Beyonce documentary, the Tigres del Norte, the 20 Feet from Stardom, Fire Festival, and Chicago do. They give you a better understanding, and you come out being a bigger fan of these artists and having a better understanding of what exactly was going on that inspired these documentaries. So let me know in the comments below if you think there's some documentaries I should have mentioned instead of these. Like I said, there's maybe 50 music documentaries on Netflix, so there's plenty to choose from. And if you have any other music documentaries that you recommend, leave them down in the comments below so I can also check them out. I want to watch more documentaries as well, so hopefully I gave you a few new ones, and hopefully you can give me a few new ones too. Alright, so if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you next time. Later.